So hello, it's Thursday, and guess what? Instagram is playing with us today. How absolutely exciting. So today we're going live on both my Facebook as well as my Instagram pages. Welcome, my name is Tanya Uester, Dr. T as most people call me. This is my page, Botanichemy, an alchemy of soothing botanic ingredients. And every single week I go live teaching you more about the really cool science nerdy stuff of essential oils. And the reason why I love teaching about the chemistry, specifically in this series, is because this is how we understand how the oils work, what they do for our bodies, and because we then can understand what chemical constituents are prevalent in certain oils, we are then more informed and we know how to start swapping out oils depending on the effect that we need. So welcome today. I can see there are some people starting to log in on Instagram. We can see on Facebook. Remember, if you would like me to give you a shout out, just pop something in the comments so I can see that you are there. Kubis, I can see you're in on Facebook. Welcome. Yay, good to see you. Michelle, you're also here. Fantastic. Thanks for joining. And we have a really exciting topic today. So I really do hope there's quite a few people coming in. And obviously remember, if you want to be reminded about these because it's not on your alarm clock yet, please join my Telegram channel. You get reminders for these sessions every week. If you don't know what that link is, in the comments, just type Telegram for me and I will get that link to you as soon as possible. Then another thing, I must just be reminded that I need to grab my paper and my pen in case there are questions on Insta, because unfortunately after the Insta Live, I don't see those comments. And I don't want to miss out when someone's asking me something. So welcome, Aircon guy. I know who you are. It's good to have you on Insta. Madeline, you've just joined as well. Fantastic. And Marie from Art Accent. Welcome, welcome. Good to have you all on today. It's going to be a really, really fun one. We're talking about an important molecule in my book. And we are going to be talking about the physical support as well as the mental and emotional support that we can find from a particular chemical constituent. And this week is obviously episode 2 in my chemistry series. If you missed last week's, we talked about eucalyptol or 1.8 cineol, which is of course a very relevant molecule, especially with regards to what's going on in the environment around us at the moment. This week is episode 2. So if ever you miss any of the episodes, you can always go and catch the replays on my YouTube channel. There's a specific playlist per series. Obviously, we've done a gut health series before. We did single oils before. And now we've gone over into the chemistry side. I can also see Trish has just joined. Welcome, welcome. So very good to have all of you on, and let's get this party going. And it is a party because the molecule I want to talk about today is going to make you feel more inclined to have a party, I'd say. Catherine's just joined as well. Welcome on Insta. So glad to be back on Insta again today. Every single week for a couple of weeks, I had to load the videos on there afterwards because there just seemed to be glitches all the time. And then when my phone was ready, the previous time, there was a global Insta outage. Can you even imagine something like that? So let's get going. Let's get the live on the road. So we are talking about beta-caryophyllene today. Look at that pretty molecule. Isn't that cool? I think that's really, really cool. So beta-caryophyllene is what we call a bicyclic sesquiterpene alkene. So that's a big word, right? I'm going to explain to you in the little parts what all of that means that I just mentioned. So bicyclic means 2 circles. There we go. There's the one and there's the other one. Okay. And basically, a sesquiterpene is quite a large molecule, actually, and you can either find it in a length backbone. In other words, all the molecules are straight after each other, or all the carbons in a straight line, or they can be one ring. But in this case, it's 2 rings, beta sesquiterpene. There we go. All right, so it's bicyclic. It's got the 2. And usually, these sesquiterpenes do not have, so an alkene, does not have a functional molecule. Remember last week we talked about the functional molecules. This one does not have a functional molecule, but what it does have is a double bond somewhere in between all the carbons in the backbone. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Really cool. Memorize that. No, you can go and find it online. You don't have to memorize that. All right, so I can also see Trusha's just logged in. Welcome, welcome. So aside from how cool I think the structure looks, there's a lot to do with why the structure looks like it looks. So the sesquiterpene backbone itself is actually quite a large molecule. So when we're looking at essential oils specifically, most oils have got a lot of monoterpenes in them. They're really teeny tiny small molecules. So those are the ones that get easily into our cells. They either have interactions with the cell membrane receptors and they get passed in through, or they go in through the membrane itself. The sesquiterpenes are actually bigger molecules. So how they tend to end up having a cellular response in our bodies is by having an interaction with what is on the outside of our cell membranes. I can see Andre is also just logged in. Welcome, welcome. And that's quite fascinating because that means they either detect something and there's like a key and a keyhole kind of thing that happens where they sort of fit into each other. And then there's a cascade of biochemical transactions or reactions that take place because the sesquiterpene has now found the key versus the keyhole, right? So there's these keys sticking out from the cell membrane, and this keyhole sesquiterpene then comes and finds its spot on the cell, and it's got to do then what it's got to do. Really amazing. I find these bigger molecules really fascinating. So as a rule, the sesquiterpenes are what we call soothing oils. So they are oils that help alleviate issues, so emotional, but also physical. So they're meant to reassure and console when we need them to, which is really fascinating because you'll see as we go through all of the properties today, why that soothing sort of over global term is very relevant specifically for the beta-caryophyllene. So by definition, a cannabinoid, here's another word that you guys need to learn through my chemistry series. A cannabinoid is a molecule that binds to certain receptors which are already in our body. And there's a lot of talk about CB1 and CB2 receptors because there's a lot of medicines out there, I would say, that has a reaction in activating your endocannabinoid pathways. Now, beta-caryophyllene is very, very cool because it is also a cannabinoid. And that means it's a molecule that acts in the system either on the CB1 or the CB2 receptors, but specifically the beta-caryophyllene is what we call an antagonist of the CB2 receptor. Now, that's a big word of just saying it activates it, right? So it finds the CB2 receptors, and most of those are actually found in the peripheral areas of the body, so the arms, the legs, the feet, the toes. But there definitely are also CB2 receptors in central part of our body as well. And this is really cool because this means we can activate the endocannabinoid pathway, which has got a very important role to play in our bodies. We'll not talk about that today. That's a lesson for a different day. But we do need endocannabinoid activation. We need to activate that pathway because what it helps us to do is to support a healthy inflammatory response, as well as to soothe discomfort that we may be experiencing either physically or emotionally. And it is also going to positively affect our mood without the psychoactive side effects we may experience from other medications. How cool is that? So when you then have an essential oil, which is really high in beta-caryophyllene, you're going to have all of those benefits of activating the endocannabinoid pathway. In other words, the soothing, the anti-inflammatory, all kinds of other nice properties without the psychoactive effect, which I find absolutely amazing. And when you're using a pharmaceutical tested grade essential oil, which basically means the oil is going to do exactly the same thing every single time you use it. It's never going to vary because it's got the same stuff inside it. The chemical constituents are there just in the right ratios. Then you know you are going to be dealing with a product that is really going to support your health, whether it's emotional, physical, in other words, all-round holistic wellness. All right, so that's really, really amazing. If we look at the group of sesquiterpenes, so that's that bigger backbone, okay? In general, they're antibacterial, they're antiseptic, they have really calming properties, really good at being supportive to a healthy inflammatory response. They can be stimulating as well, certain of the oils. They are hypotensive, blood and lymph decongestant. So a lot of those people that do a lot of lymph drainage, when you have using an oil together with your protocol that is high in beta in these chemical constituents, then you are the beta-caryophyllene specifically, then you are going to be supporting it even more. And it's also what we call anti-allergenic, really a lot of good skin properties as well. And then because it is a sesquiterpene alkene, we also need to look what the alkenes are well known for. The alkenes are analgesic. What does that mean? Takes away discomfort that we are experiencing physically. The alkenes are also anti-inflammatory. They have very high antioxidant properties. I can see Bev is just logged in as well. And Natasha de Cook, welcome, welcome. Good to have you on. If you missed the beginning part, always remember you can catch the replay in the live on the feed on my page, or you can go to my YouTube channel and subscribe. So those of you that are not in my Telegram channel yet, remember, if you want to be reminded, just put Telegram in the comments and I'll get that Telegram group channel linked to you as soon as possible. Let's just carry on with the alkenes. So we ended with it being very good antioxidant, which is a really nice property to have, especially when you're trying to support your immune system and the general wellness of your cells to fight those free radicals. It's also antispasmodic, and that's probably why it has a really good effect when we start looking at certain conditions where we have the shakes, for example, but also where we get spasms. It's also what we call a cardiotonic. Now, cardio is not just doing weights, jumping up and down in a step. Cardio always is referring to the heart, all right? So it basically vitalizes the cardiovascular system. It tones the heart. So a really good molecule to have around for good heart health. It's also a digestive stimulant as well as regenerative. So you can see that this is really an incredible chemical constituent to have as part of an essential oil that you're going to be using as a whole. And when we're talking about that whole, remember last week we talked about Team U. And while we are going to delve into these chemical constituents as single parts, it is crucial that you understand they play a role, and sometimes a synergistic role, with the other molecules and chemical constituents that are also present. So even if you're looking specifically for the benefits or the properties of that specific chemical constituent, what else is in that oil is also going to affect it as a whole. And that is why a lot of the older research was very focused on only one chemical constituent, but it's becoming really important to do the research where all the chemical constituents playing synergistically together in oil, the benefits of those are measured because there are going to be certain interactions that do take place. Really, really exciting. So now we're going to get to the emotional part before we get to the physical part as well. And the reason why is Copahiba is probably one of my most favorite emotional essential oils. And there's a very good reason for that. And every single time I read this piece, look, there's a lot of information about oils that are high in beta-caryophyllene for emotional support. But every single time I read through this specific paragraph, you know, when something happens in your body and there's some kind of reaction, so you're either like, or take an inhale, it's usually because there's either, okay, I've said something really true, something that I don't want to admit. Maybe there's some kind of energy blockage. Maybe there is something that is tracing back to something in the past. And this is what beta-caryophyllene does for me in most of the essential oils that I use. I can also see Alkenes just logged in all the way from Belgium. Welcome, welcome. So let's talk about oils that are high in beta-caryophyllene. And here I'm specifically going to refer to specifically the emotional part of an oil called Copahiba, if you're talking South American, Brazil, or Copaiba, like the Americans would call it. And the reason why I'm going to specifically talk about Copahiba is because it is the oil that is the highest in beta-caryophyllene. So it's the oil of unveiling. And now we're going to unveil some truths about me personally online, but I hope you can resonate with this and start understanding why an oil like this can be really supportive, specifically for your emotions. The part that usually resonates with me is the fact that Copahiba is usually, or beta-caryophyllene then, we can interchange those words in the piece that I'm going to read to you now, is interchangeable, that beta-caryophyllene with Copahiba, because people that usually need this oil are most often very vulnerable when they start becoming self-aware, and it really works to help them with unresolved pain, which are usually hidden in recesses, very deep parts of the heart, mind, and the body. Now, I am someone who tends to store everything in my body. My brain can move on really, really quickly, but usually all my stress and all my angst and things go into my body, and I have a lot of body discomfort as a result of that. So I tend to use the copahiba oil to start addressing and letting these emotions come up so that I can deal with them and let them go, because otherwise I'm going to sit with that discomfort in my body for the rest and for like ever, right? So many people discover they are plagued with feelings of guilt, shame, inadequacy, unworthiness. And that has been, it can be absorbed from the very early environment, from childhood, for example. And usually when you read something like that and you feel that I just experienced, it is unlocking something. You're bringing something to the front and you are ready to deal with it. It won't bring anything to the front if you are not ready to deal with it, right? And this is, I think, something that has become really relevant, and a lot of people are really realizing this feeling of not being enough. So these shame-based feelings may distort every interaction you have with life. Realize that. Everything is seen through the filter, or when you're seeing everything through the filter of being less than, it creates a perception of the world that is extremely painful and ultimately defeating. So really, really actually quite ouch. There's no other word, it's just ouch. So using oils that are really high in beta-caryophyllene, and we will talk about some of the other oils that are available as well, not just the copahiba, it will unveil that we have always been treasured, accepted, valued, worthy of love. Sorry. So here's that affirmation. I am enough. Inhale the copahiba or any of the other oils. And if you would like to use this for emotional support, then obviously there are 3 ways that you can use it. Aromatic, internal, as well as topical. And that's really beneficial when you've got a tested grade oil that you can be using all 3 ways, because it's pharmaceutical grade. Because it not only means it's going to support you emotionally, it's going to support your body as well at the same time. So holistically going to be supporting you, the person like me, feeling that you're not enough. So aromatic, either inhaling from a bottle in the diffuser at the back. And you can diffuse this throughout the day, obviously, or you can simply put a drop in your hand, rub your hands together and inhale. When you're going to be applying it topically, I like applying essential oils in my body lotion in the morning. It just sets me for the day. It really supports me emotionally, and it definitely goes topically into your cells where you need the anti-inflammatory benefit then, of course, as well. So internally, it's really nice to put a drop or 2 underneath your tongue. And it really depends what essential oil you're going to be using here. I like to have 2 drops of copahiba under my tongue every morning to support me with feeling less anxious, so soothing anxious feelings, for example. But the Melissa I use simply, and this is a very precious oil, right? Not one of the cheapest ones. So Melissa is also very high in beta-caryophyllene, and it really does help me emotionally. So what I do with this very expensive oil is turn the bottle around, and then there's about 1/4 of a drop on your finger onto your palate. Not the best tasting oil, but really good in supporting the emotions. So those are the ways that you are going to be using these essential oils for the emotional side. When we use them topically and aromatically, as well as internally, we are going to have the physical as well as the emotional benefits. And usually we diffuse and we use them aromatically, specifically when we are working with the emotions. But I do think that using them in the other methods as well, depending on the oil, of course, not all oils are supposed to be used internally. So please always read your bottle. Decide which brand of oil you're going to be using. Some of them are really not meant for internal use because the essential oil industry is unregulated. So you don't know what's inside that bottle. So always make sure that you have a tested grade pharmaceutical oil that you can get lab results for, because then you can do what I just did now, put the Melissa on your palate to get that emotional support, which is, by the way, also really high in antioxidants, so supporting the immune system at the same time. So let's start looking at all of the oils that contain beta-caryophyllene. And yes, there's many. There really is many. And before we do that, perhaps I would also like to say there's a lot of medical research on the beta-caryophyllene, all right? So the sesquiterpene molecules have been thoroughly studied. And if I refer back to a guide that I use very often as a medical professional, Tisserand is a guide that is the safety of oils, and it's specifically written for healthcare professionals. In there is a lot of research and reporting on how beta-caryophyllene is actually a very weak skin allergen, which is very good news for us because that means we don't need to dilute to a very high concentration to be using it topically without irritating ourselves. It's also, it doesn't the oxidation doesn't make it more allergenic. There's a lot of oils actually when you leave the bottle open and it starts oxidizing from either standing in heat or direct UV sunlight or just leaving it open, reacting with the air, oxygen. It starts affecting and playing around with the chemical constituents in there, and they start breaking down, and then sometimes they can actually become more potent and irritating to the skin. Copahiba is not one of those, which is really fantastic. And it's also reported in that guide as being non-toxic, non-mutagenic, and anti-tumoral. Really good oil or really good chemical constituent to have around if you translate that into cellular health. There's also a lot of research coming out now showing how beneficial beta-caryophyllene is in being neuroprotective. We all want to protect our neurons in our brains, right, and our nervous systems. So definitely a really good sort of chemical constituent to have around. So let's start looking at these oils that we can either swap out with or have an ability to choose between. I can see there's a lot of comments coming through now. I guess Facebook was a little bit slow today. Oh, there we go. Danika's just resonated with something that I said there. But yes, I'm not going to let the tears flow too much on a live. And Connie, remember, you can always catch the replay on YouTube or catch it in the feed on my page as well. You know where to come and find me. So the first one we're going to be talking about is clove. Clove actually has between 0.6 and 20% of the beta-caryophyllene molecule in there. And you are probably going to more use clove for its eugenol benefits. In other words, teeth health, for example, cardiovascular, those kind of things. That's usually what we would use clove for, and analgesic properties. So when you have got discomfort in your mouth, but it also has quite a nice concentration between 0.6 and 20%, depending on where you're getting your oil from in the beta-caryophyllene. Then Copahiba, the one that I showed up earlier, which I tend to use every single day to support me emotionally, but also for the anti-inflammatory and the discomfort that I feel in my body. Copahiba has between 45 to 65% beta-caryophyllene. And if you're using a pharmaceutical grade essential oil, it's going to be in that very small percentage every single time. That is actually a large bracket that I've given you there. And I think it very much depends on where the plants are grown. Copahiba, for example, are trees that need to grow between 30 and 60 years before you're allowed to tap them. So always make very sure that yours is coming from a sustainable source and that it's not being an oil that's come by deforestation of the rainforests. Please just make sure about the sustainability of your specific brand that you like to use. But we are going to be using this one specifically for the beta-caryophyllene because it is the main chemical constituent in here. And it's going to support the cardiovascular system, the heart, the blood flow, immune system, digestive function, as well as the respiratory system. It's a very powerful antioxidant, so it's definitely going to be supporting your immune system as well. It's also very good, the Copahiba, specifically to promote clear skin. So here you can see when you're going to be applying it topically, you're going to inhale aromatically, have the emotional benefits, and at the same time, be really supportive to the skin as well. There's also some nice research coming out now where they've combined this Copahiba with other essential oils which have been shown to be very analgesic and increase circulation. And it's actually now going into a stage where they can call it is going to relieve pain, which is really amazing. There's quite a lot of research coming out about that. So combining this, for example, with an essential oil blend, which you're going to be using for discomfort in any area of your body physically, Copahiba is going to be a really good one there. And of course, it's because of all those properties of the beta-caryophyllene. Then we look at frankincense. So frankincense is one of those oils that generally supports every single system in your body. It has the beta-caryophyllene between 0.1 and 10%, depending on where your boswellia is being sourced from. Melissa, the one that I put on my palette, 1 to 22%. And this is also going to be really calming to the nervous system. So definitely an essential oil that is high in beta-caryophyllene that is going to be very supportive. Pink pepper. Who doesn't love pink pepper? Oh, I love the smell of pink pepper. I use pink pepper in my cooking quite a lot, especially in salad dressings. It's really good in there. It has the beta-caryophyllene between, I'd say 0.1 and 10%, depending on where you're sourcing your oil from. Thyme. Thyme also contains beta-caryophyllene, and now we all know thyme really, really well because not only does it repel insects, it's also really good for the immune system, very high in certain molecules that are very supportive that we are going to get to in the next lives. But it is a really, really good oil to have around for the immune system. And now you know it's also high in beta-caryophyllene. Yarrow, which is an essential oil, very well known for soothing the skin, very good skin support, is also an essential oil that contains the beta-caryophyllene between 5 to 20%. And if you are already a member of my favorite essential oil company, Yarrow is obviously part of our duo that we get in pomegranate seed oil, which has also got a lot of topical skincare benefits and can also be used internally to promote collagen production, for example. But here, because it's high in beta-caryophyllene, you're going to get all the other benefits as well. And then the last two oils that also have beta-caryophyllene is ylang ylang and cananga. And you may say to me, yes, Tanya, but ylang ylang comes from the cananga plant. Yes, that's true. But there's a difference between ylang ylang, which is traditionally sourced from Cananga urarata. And yes, I know, I'm lucky, I got this in from the UK. Cananga, the essential oil Cananga itself is Cananga, it's a different species, all right? So there's different subspecies of the Cananga plant, and that's why they source these oils differently. So if we can just look at that, the difference is just different species of the tree. Cananga is... The oil itself is the macrophylla variety. I know that's a really, really big word. You don't have to remember that. But the reason why I'm talking specifically about Cananga today is the main difference between this one, although it smells very similar to ylang ylang, obviously, is the Cananga is higher in beta-caryophyllene. And usually they say in ylang ylang, the beta-caryophyllene is between 5 to 25%. In my particular batch of Cananga, because remember, I can get the lab results for every single batch of oil. So can you, if you're using these oils, the batch code at the bottom, type that into the website called sourcetoyou.com, and then you can get your specific GCMS results as well. But basically, my Cananga has 33% beta-caryophyllene in it, whereas my particular ylang ylang has 14.09. All right, so that's really cool to know. The Cananga is higher in beta-caryophyllene. So also very well known to calm the nervous system down. So that might be a really good one to put in the diffuser at night, especially if you're someone that struggles to sleep. So how are we going to be incorporating ththese oils? That's the thing. We're going to inhale them aromatically. And I've got at the back a really nice diffuser blend today. Actually, I put in there ylang ylang, copahiba, and wild orange. That was a really, really good combo. I've got to say it smells really delicious. You can add it to cooking. So black pepper and pink pepper, both high in beta-caryophyllene. You can add both of those into salad dressings, for example. You can add the black pepper after you've been exposing your food to the cooking, in other words. So when you've taken it off the heat, then you can add the black pepper afterwards. You can also, if you're using that nutraceutical deo, pomegranate with the yarrow in it, you can be applying that to the face. So you're going to get the skincare benefits, and you're going to be smelling the beta-caryophyllene as well. You can always put copahiba under your tongue, or you can put it into a DIY cleaner. Very nice cleansing benefits. Or you can simply use ylang ylang, for example, for essential body massage, or in your Epsom salts before you have a good night in your bath, so you can have a good night's rest. So really, beta-caryophyllene is one of those absolutely amazing molecules. It's a really, really good chemical constituent to have around, floating in many of the essential oils that you're going to be using. So please get some of those oils and definitely start using this molecule, because it's going to be really supportive emotionally, but also physically for your body. So just to summarize, it's the main chemical constituent in many essential oils, beta-caryophyllene, and it has a lot to offer. When you're looking for cardiovascular support, for example, the heart, the circulatory system, or whether you want to just boost the cleansing power of a homemade cleaner, these oils are really good for that as well. But really, the essential oils with beta-caryophyllene has you covered. So it's been an amazing lesson today. Yes, Probably a little bit too close for comfort in the heart area, but it is one of my absolute favorite chemical constituents, and now you will better understand why. It is a really, really supportive oil, and I hope you learned a lot today. Please feel free to share with people who you think may benefit and resonate with the information that I provide on a weekly basis. Just a reminder again, if you want to be reminded for my Thursday lives, get into my Telegram channel. It's not just the lives, there's other information that goes in there as well. So if you would like to join that channel, just pop it in the comments, Telegram, and I'll add you to there, or I'll send you the link to join. And for those of you that are looking at all these oils and thinking, oh my goodness, I don't have essential oils, I need to get them, please reach out to me. I can definitely help you to get essential oils. And if you are, like me, very keen on starting a wellness business and incorporating or partnering with a really ethical company where you can get these oils into your home and really help other people, because that's the passion, right? Helping people with the oils, please reach out to me as well. There's obviously terms and conditions involved with being able to partner with me in my business, but please do reach out to me and I'll gladly get you started. So thank you so much for joining me. Next week will be episode 3 with a new chemical constituent. Hopefully you memorized everything I said today about beta-caryophyllene, but if you didn't, always go and catch the replay. Thank you so much for joining. Bye-bye.